So, what happens when a local coffee shop's name sounds, well, a little too much like a global giant? Today, we're getting into a really fascinating legal battle that's all about branding, ambition, and, of course, coffee. This isn't just a story about two companies, though. It's a huge cautionary tale with some powerful lessons for anyone trying to build a business. And that's really the core question here, isn't it? It's the classic David versus Goliath story, this time unfolding in the super busy coffee scene of Delhi, India. You've got this small, ambitious local chain going head-to-head with one of the most recognized brands on the entire planet. All right, let's set the stage and meet the contenders. To really get what's at stake here, you first need to understand who these two players are. So, in one corner, you've got Starbucks. I mean, they're a global behemoth, a name that's pretty much synonymous with coffee for millions of people. And in the other corner, you have Sardarbuksh, a local upstart from Delhi that was really taking off and quickly building its own passionate following. So, what was the big deal? What actually sparked this whole conflict? It wasn't just about who could sell more lattes. At its very core, this was a fight over identity. The entire case really boils down to this one key legal concept: deceptive similarity. Basically, Starbucks' whole argument was that Sardarbuksh wasn't just inspired by them, they were intentionally trying to confuse customers into thinking there was a connection. Okay, first up, the logo. Just look at them. The similarities are pretty hard to ignore, right? Both of them use that green circular frame with a figure right in the middle. Now sure, Sardarbuksh had a man in a turban instead of a siren, but the whole vibe, it felt strikingly familiar. But honestly, the logo was just the warm-up act. The bigger issue, the main event, was the name itself. Go ahead, say them out loud. Starbucks, Sardarbuksh. That sound, that rhyme, that was the real heart of the legal battle. And you know what? It seemed to be working for them. Riding that wave of familiarity, Sardarbuksh just exploded onto the scene, opening 20 outlets all across Delhi. Now, this was a huge success for a local brand, but from Starbucks' point of view, it was like painting a giant target on their back. So how did this whole thing escalate from a disagreement into a full-blown high court battle? Let's trace the steps. It started how these things often do, with a legal notice from Starbucks. Starbucks actually tried to play nice. They tweaked their logo a bit. But for a giant like Starbucks, that wasn't nearly enough. The main problem, the name, was still there. So with no agreement in sight, Starbucks took them to the Delhi High Court in 2017. All right, so after all the back and forth, all the arguments were heard, and the court finally reached a verdict. This decision wasn't just going to decide the fate of one local brand. It was going to send a message to entrepreneurs everywhere. And the verdict was a win for the global giant. Yup, the court sided with Starbucks. They ruled that the name and logo were, in fact, deceptively similar and could absolutely confuse the average coffee drinker. Okay, so what did that actually mean for those 20 Sardarbuksh locations? Did they have to shut down completely? Was this the end of the road for them? Well, not quite. The court didn't order a complete shutdown. Instead, they mandated a very specific change. They had to alter their name from Sardarbuksh, ending in B-U-S-H, to Sardarji-Bakhsh, ending in B-A-K-S-H. It seems like a tiny little tweak, right? But legally, that small change was crucial. It was designed to break that sound-alike connection once and for all. Now, this is where the story gets really, really interesting. For anyone out there in business, let's zoom out from this specific case and talk about the huge lessons here for any founder trying to build a brand today. This entire saga really just boils down to two incredibly powerful lessons for anyone building a business. And it doesn't matter if you're selling coffee or you're selling code. Lesson one is this. Even if you start local, you have to think globally from day one. In our world today, your brand has no borders. And that means you have to protect your intellectual property internationally, not just in your own backyard. It's a total mindset shift. And hey, don't think this is a one-off thing. Just look at PayPal. They ran into issues with Paytm in India, partly because of delays in their own trademark filings. And Starbucks themselves, they learned this lesson. They actually sued a copycat brand in Pakistan before they even opened a single store there. They were playing defense to protect their name ahead of time. And that brings us to lesson number 2, which is a critical piece of financial advice. Originality is almost always cheaper in the long run. Trying to get a shortcut by riding on another brand's coattails can be an incredibly expensive mistake. I mean, just think about it this way. Paying a designer upfront to create a truly unique brand might feel like a big cost at the start. But look at this breakdown. That initial cost is just a drop in the bucket compared to the crippling legal fees, the massive expense of rebranding every cup and sign, and maybe worst of all, the priceless momentum you lose when you're forced to start over. And that leaves us with one final tough question. Was the court's decision a fair protection of intellectual property? Or was this a case of a global giant using its immense power to squash a rising local competitor? Honestly, there's no easy answer here, and it probably just depends on how you look at it. What do you think?